Hi everyone, Scotty here from What Drives Her, the podcast from A Girl's Guide to Cars. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe right here. We're on Spotify, Apple. You can also find us on YouTube. That is our video feed on YouTube, What Drives Her, the podcast from A Girl's Guide to Cars. I am solo this week. Natalie is traveling with her family, with her son in Florida, and unable to join me today, but I am so excited to bring you our podcast guest today. Her name is Christi Schimpke, and she is the founder of Crash Jewelry. And the crazy thing is, she came into this not from the automotive world at all, but from a background in art and a desire to create things. And what she found when she came into the world of automotive was an incredibly receptive and warm and welcoming community, especially of women. So Crash Jewelry, if you're not familiar with it, what Christi does is she takes car parts that are going to be discarded after a repair. So say a crunched bumper or a damaged side panel of expensive and collectible cars. So think Porsche and Ferrari and Mini Cooper and BMW. Lamborghini, cars that she loves, cars that she has learned to appreciate the deep artistry in those cars and bring them to wearable jewelry. And it was fascinating to hear not only how she got started, but what inspires her. So here's the conversation with Christi Schimpke. Hi, Christi.
Hey.
It is so nice to meet you. I have to say, we have been fans of your work for a very long time. The first time I heard about what you do, I thought, there's really somebody who does that? And it's amazing. So thank you so much for being here for What Drives Her, the podcast from A Girl's Guide to Cars. And let's just jump right in. So my first question is, how the heck did you start making jewelry out of car parts?
It's kind of interesting. My background is in the arts, art history, and I've never been in the automotive world per se. You know, I always worked in the arts. And when I married my husband, Dan, a few years back, he owned a body shop. So in West LA, and they work on late model cars, mostly European. A lot of really nice cars, especially since driving around Beverly Hills and whatnot. And so, all of a sudden I was kind of thrown into this and started to really appreciate the beauty and artistry of cars. And also at the same time, I had started making jewelry again, which was something I'd sort of done as a hobby. And so my first foray was more traditional into silversmithing, making, more gem cabochon jewelry. And it was just really hard to compete. This was 13 years ago. And, everybody was doing it. So he let me move my studio. I shouldn't say let me, but I moved my studio into one of the garages at the shop because I needed some space. And while I was sitting there, one day working, and I just thought, oh my God, I was looking at this car. It was a Bentley GT Windsor. It was a Cabriolet Windsor Blue. And I just was like, oh my God, that car is just gorgeous. And then I started thinking, well, what happens when they remove that fender? Where does that go? Because the paint really captured my attention. It reminded me of enamel. And then I started, and I'm all about sustainability. So I started thinking about, well, maybe I could make jewelry out of it. And also from a marketing point of view, I did a little research and no one's really doing it. So it started as an idea. And then many years later, it took a while to get there, but we've finally gotten here. Yeah.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about your art background. Where did you go to school and where did you work in the art world?
So I went to UCSB. That's where I got my master's in art history. And my emphasis was Italian Renaissance portraiture, kind of obscure. I know. I worked at the Getty Museum for a long time in various roles as a writer, editor, cataloger, and researcher. And then before that, I worked in Oxford at the Christchurch Picture Gallery with old master drawings and the Bodleian. So I've had, some kind of diverse experience, but always related to either the arts or education.
The
So
Getty. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite places in the world.
me
If
too.
anybody has never been to the Getty, you should just book a trip just to do that, just to do
Yes,
that. It's one of the most stunning places you'll ever go. So incredible.
absolutely.
Even before you look at any of the art, any of their collections, any of the exhibits that they have going on at the time, just the building, the vista, the space, the tram to get there, like all of it
Right.
is just this incredible experience. They really, they really created such an amazing venue or such an amazing property, and it showcases the art that it houses so beautifully.
Absolutely. And I was there when we were all in different like satellite areas, and I was in an office building in Santa Monica. And so when we moved up the hill, I mean, we all participated. So we were there during the building. They were really great about, giving us hard hats and showing us around and sort of seeing where things came from. And it felt like this real immersive experience. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good time.
That's a quite a fantastic memory, quite a fantastic place to have been in your career. So
Yeah.
talk about when you started. You said you were making like more traditional jewelry, cabochon with gems and other things. So talk about how you made this transition from an art curator, historian, writer, sort of the paper side of it, to the actual artisan side. What happened there?
Well, um, I kind of got burnt out a little bit. I don't know if you've ever worked for a nonprofit, but there's not a whole lot of progress, a lot of bureaucracy. And I've also worked at UCLA, so I was accustomed to this. But if you had ideas or you wanted to get things done, it was almost impossible. You had to go through this committee or that metadata meeting or this or that, and so you always felt like you were being held back a little bit. And so, I was kind of at the point in my career, I worked in several different, areas of the Getty that I just wasn't sure if I could go any further. And then when I met Dan, I was always amazed at how every morning, no matter what, he got out of bed, so excited to go to work. He just had this incredible passion. And I was like, man, I want that, because I was burnt out. And so after we got married, and this is the greatest gift I think anyone's ever given me, is he said, why don't you just take some time and figure out what your passion is? And I was like, what? Okay. So I did. I dabbled in this and that and started taking jewelry, silversmithing again. And that's when it just hit me. I just fell into it. And that's all I wanted to do. And then for the car aspect of it, it was just meeting Dan and learning all about cars. He's from Detroit, about this whole new world and, discussing engineering and rivets and all this stuff. It was just, I don't know, it was this really natural segue.
And so, talk about what do you bring to this from your car life? I mean, you live in Southern California, which is probably the ultimate car culture on earth. I mean, Detroit certainly is
Right.
where so much of it is built,
Right.
and they love cars, but they don't necessarily love all cars. But in Southern California, the love for cars is so wide and all encompassing. Talk about what cars mean to you.
Well, they used to mean a mode of transportation. um, and I just had no idea about the luxuriousness of some of these cars out there. And, I was driving, I think, what was I driving? Something like a Honda, I mean, working in a nonprofit, you don't have a lot. So, it was just a method of getting from here to there. I always appreciated the beauty of cars, though, the lines, the artistry. But my first car after I left the Getty was a Mercedes red 1995 red Cabriolet E320. And I loved that car. It was in great shape, had very few miles on it for as old as it was. And it just changed how I looked at cars. I can't explain it, but it just felt right. And then there was also the fact that I was in the body shop almost every day and starting to learn, what came into the driveway. Oh, what's that? What's that yellow Porsche? What color is that? What year? What make? And it just became this whole new education for me that I began to really appreciate.
So outside of Dan, who clearly was a big influence on you here, who are your other influences that helped you to see cars in a different way?
That's a good question. Well, I guess I would say, well, Lynn St. James, she's been amazing. And I respect her so much and I admire what she's done. And I like how she sort of got into it and she has a sense of humor about it. And of course, Cindy Sisson. Um, During COVID 2020, they started a group of women. We all came together on Zoom and it was nationwide. And that's when I really started learning more and more about women and cars. And it was a whole new community for me. I mean, totally different from anything I've ever been in before. And it just felt right. And Cindy and Lynn, they were there for any questions, introductions. We just had this symbiotic kind of relationship. I help you, you help me. It was and we're still like that today, and I don't know. I can't describe it. It's just a different the mentorship and the appreciation for cars and just the fact that these women are so involved in every aspect of it, not just writing about cars or driving cars or whatever, I mean, every aspect I've learned a lot.
It's interesting that you, as a jeweler, felt the need to find that car community. How did that help you? How did getting to know other people in automotive help you to be creative and be thoughtful about your craft?
I was kind of isolated. I mean, when you're working on something like jewelry, you're by yourself all day long. And I was used to being around people. And so there was that aspect of it. A lot of jewelry artists don't like to collaborate or share necessarily.
Mhm.
Um,
Very competitive.
there's this little level of competition there. And I just never felt that in the car community. When I came up with this idea, it was welcomed and people were just blown away. They were like, what? You do what? So it became this natural conversation starter to sort of open up about who I was, who they were, how I got to where I am now, what am I doing, which cars. They knew cars that they would recommend, or hey, maybe I know somebody who has this metal or that metal, or do you think you can make this or that for this person? So it just became this growing thing, you know.
That's amazing. Are commissions important to your business?
Not so much. I mean, the gifting portion of it is pretty important. Yeah, like bespoke gifts,
Right.
which is something we really enjoy, and we usually do it for Pebble Beach is coming around. We usually make at least a set of VIP gifts for a particular brand. And then around Christmas time for employees' gifts and things like that. Like for example, Mecum Auctions, they wanted something different for their employees for Christmas. They said, we always give them, backpacks or this or that. And so we came up with a cuff for them with their trademark colors. And they were at an auction and they had it all set up on a table. And then people would come in and sort of try them on and, okay, that one's yours, that one's yours, that one's yours. And just to see the people kind of gathering together and looking at it and talking about it, it's really gratifying.
So talk about the first few pieces that you made. I know as like when it comes to building something, you have to kind of find your footing. What were the first few pieces that you made and talk about where that came from for you?
Well, at the beginning, very first pieces I made were from a Mercedes SLS. And it was from the hood. So there was a lot of material there. And it was a matte finish, which was a little challenging, but it was a gorgeous car. It was aluminum, and which most, of our cars are mostly aluminum, which is antithetical. It's the opposite of what I thought it was going to be like. I thought, oh, it's
Ooh.
aluminum. It's going to be easy, to bend, to work with, this and that. So I quickly realized that aluminum is really tough and that steel is kind of the opposite. It's easier to bend, it's more malleable, and the paint tends to go with the steel a little bit more. So the first pieces we made were cuffs, were bracelets from this particular car. And we went through a lot of trial and error because, it was just all testing. We weren't sure what we were doing. So it was a matter of it was very, how do you say it? It was very crude, I guess you'd say. Using a bench shear to cut the metal and then with the paint obviously still attached, and then to sand it on a belt sander, to do this, to try and bend it without it cracking or breaking. And then we couldn't use an open flame to attach anything to the cuff because it would destroy the paint. So we had to use little rivets. We still do. And it was very tedious and challenging because we were doing it in a very crude way. So yeah, the first things we made were cuffs, and we had a box of just rejects. You go to bend it and everything, and the cracks, and you just throw it over there. But what's funny is those rejects always become something because you can kind of find the beauty in these things when you really look at it. So I guess long answer to your question, cuffs were the very first thing we started making.
And now you make earrings, you make cuffs. What does the line look like now?
Cuffs are still our number one, seller. We make earrings, necklaces, we make cufflinks. We've made trophies, we've made crowns, we've made, let's see what else. We made clocks, like desk clock. Oh my gosh, we've made sculptures. So quite a few different things really out of the metal. It sort of feels like almost anything's possible.
Let's look at some jewelry. Should we look at some jewelry?
Okay.
Will you show us a
Yes.
few pieces and
Yes.
talk
So,
about,
Mhm.
hold it up close to the camera so we can all see, and tell us about the piece. What are we looking at?
Okay, so this one is, I made this a long time ago, and this is what I call, this is a happy mistake. And this is two different Lamborghinis. The one on the bottom, the orange one, is an Aventador. The one on the top is an Huracan. And I was very fortunate to even get any Lamborghini metal at that point. So I had this idea to layer, and when I was making it, this top piece cracked. It just broke apart, which I'd never really seen it do before. So, I was like, oh no, I spent all day working on this. What am I going to do? And then the more I started looking at it, the more I thought, I should just try it, put the two pieces on there on top of the other piece. And I love how the orange just sort of peeks through, and I also love how rough it is. It sort of shows, the transformation from a car that's been in an accident to a finished jewelry piece. So this one I always wear. Then we started moving into, I guess I would say, more car related specific. This is a Porsche. This is from our livery series. And this is the Martini livery. You probably recognize that. We engraved the name of the car on the inside.
Okay.
So as you can see, we have to rivet the pieces on top. So the bottom, the white, is from a Porsche. The red is from a Porsche. The blue is from a Lamborghini. I did not have a Porsche in that color to complete the livery. And it's extremely light, I should say, because they are aluminum, mostly.
Is it backed on silver?
No, I mean, it's
all
literally,
aluminum?
it's just, it's all aluminum. It's the car. It's like, imagine I took your fender and I cut it up. That's what it is.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just assumed that you attached these pieces like in a silver case. No.
No. That's just it. We don't use silver or gold or anything on these. I mean, we may use gemstones and whatnot because I still like the whole metalsmithing part of it. But that's why I was saying we had so many problems at the beginning with the paint cracking, because imagine cutting a strip from a hood And then, of course, already the edge is already starting to crack. And then having to sand it, and then try and bend it. And it is the car from it, so
It's
that is the
amazing.
hardest thing to get across, is that no, I'm wearing my car. So yeah, so from there, I mean, once we sort of figured out how to help with the paint, I mean, it got a little more technical. We have a spreadsheet that we have a library of metal. We keep track of everything has a provenance, and that sort of goes back to my Getty days as a cataloger, and provenance is very important to me. So we keep track of everything. We keep a spreadsheet on how the paint behaves, because it depends on where is it from. Is it from the door? Is it from the hood? Is it from a quarter panel? Because it's thinner in some areas, thicker in others. You just never really knew until you experimented. And then we've made notes. Well, this Ferrari 599 GTO, the paint is thick, really thick. So if you're going to engrave on it, plan to spend some time. And then we have problems sometimes with red paint. And someone just explained to me that they believe it's because of the oxide in the red paint. And so because it becomes a little more brittle. So that was always a challenge, trying to get red paint to behave. So that's literally, but we moved on from, I couldn't help but bring in the silversmithing side of things. And these are settings I made this is a carnelian, and this is a piece of turquoise. And so I hand fabricated these out of sterling silver, and then I have to attach them with rivets. And this is from my husband's car, actually. It's an '06 Ford GT and Centennial White with blue stripes. So I still like to do things like this where I'm combining my skill set. Then it goes a little bit further. Now, I can't take credit for making this setting, but to really bling it up, this one
Ooh.
is stunning, right?
Oh,
Uh,
that is gorgeous.
that's beautiful. And it's
Yeah.
tourmaline in the middle. And this is from a Mini Cooper in British Racing Green. So we don't discriminate necessarily. What really drew me to this was the color. It was just,
Mhm.
I guess I'm looking at things through a different lens, maybe. So I'm seeing the color, I'm seeing the richness, I'm seeing, and then I try and think about the car, the lines, the history. How can this all come together in a piece? Another one we did recently is an Audi RS5. It's beautiful turbo blue color. And I mean, this is the original paint.
Mhm.
Everything's original. And now we've developed techniques using a laser. So we are actually engraving through the metal to create these precise lines, which allows us to do almost anything. We can do logos, we can do any designs. This is a Porsche 911,
Oh
and
my God, I love that.
it's not gorgeous. So we have a whole tire tread sort of series, and we love to find different patterns or come up with different ideas and try them out and see how are they going to work on this. But it's a whole process now, and there's three of us, thank goodness, working together. And one artist she brings a whole different mindset to it. And then Brian is the tech guy, but he's also an artist, but he's figured out how to laser engrave through the paint without burning it, without ruining it. It's taken us years. And as far as I know, we're the only ones doing it. And it's just opened up. That's why I said we feel like we can do almost anything. It's just opened up these endless possibilities.
I think you're the only ones doing a lot of this.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about the bling factor, because I love that your heart is there. I think first there's something about women who just are drawn to things that glitter, right? I mean,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
there's plenty of men are too,
Sure.
um,
Sure.
but I feel like men are more engineering, drawn to the engineering aspect of these things, especially watches and cars,
Yes.
whereas
Yes.
women are drawn to that more aesthetic, appeal and, things that glitter. So talk about where you see yourself going with that part of the business.
Well, what I've always wanted to do, and right now I'm in the process of, I am putting more bling on. I'll show you another one. Now this is costume, so it's not real, but it
Ooh.
it's just so elegant. This is a BMW, and the overlay I can't take credit for, but the design I can. I'm just still drawn to gemstones, and I have a lot still, and I don't want to lose my skill set in that area. But as far as like the whole bling, I have this idea, and I've tried to put real gemstones on the base of the cuff. So like BMW base here, using precious metals and precious stones, for example, diamonds, colored stones, things like that, where you could actually customize it yourself. Like you would a car. You buy a car, I want this upholstery, I want this package, I want that. You can say, okay, I want sterling silver, I want platinum, and I want emeralds, or I want rubies, and these are the shapes and so forth. That's what I really love to do, but I'm not an experienced jeweler in that arena, so it's something I keep thinking about, and I hope one day I can do it.
And so what kind of reaction have you gotten from the automotive world when they see their models that clearly were probably headed for the trash heap or the junkyard turned into jewelry? What kind of reaction do you get from them?
Usually, how it took you a minute to sort of get the concept. It takes a little while to get that for it to kind of click, because it's so different. But usually people just can't believe it, or they always smile or laugh out loud, sort of like, what? There is a very small margin, a couple percent points there, that people feel like it's a bit morbid. But I usually try and talk to them a little bit and say, no, it's not like that. We don't work on those kinds of cars. We can't even touch a car that's been totaled. These are usually fender benders, lot damage we get, and they're very expensive cars. So even if, the bumper is damaged, they may replace part of the fender or something, or the fender because it's a portion of it's dinged or whatever. So there's a lot of just excess metal out there from these cars. So then once people get it, then they really, if they're real car people, they'll start asking about, I shouldn't say real, but enthusiasts. Well, what do you have in a Porsche GT3 RS in lava orange? And I'll say, well, I have this, or I have this, or I have that, and it just blows their mind. Or they say, do you have my car in there? What's your car? Well, tell me. And a lot of times people will buy a livery just because they love the Gulf livery. Oh, yes, I'm such a fan of that, so I want that. Oh, my husband, he has this car, he has that car. Do you think you could do this? So a big part of it is the car enthusiast, but there's also that design aspect that people just appreciate the design, and they don't really care what it is. But once they hear the backstory, they really are engaged, because it's something that's a great conversation starter. It's a great gift, and it has a lot of things going for it.
That's incredible, that people would be drawn to. I mean, it must make you so happy that people are drawn to your pieces and then they hear the backstory.
Yeah.
And because that's where you really have gotten to someone's sensibility and struck a chord with them when they like it. They're not even really sure why, or they like it and then they hear the backstory and then it's meaningful. It's much more meaningful.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's talk about what advice you have for people. A question that I always ask is, so what would you say to jewelers or to somebody who's really involved maybe in automotive design, who wants to start something like this that's never been done? What would your advice be to that person?
Well, I would say first, do your research, really dive in, find out, if anyone's doing it all over the world, then I think I would, of course, think about, can it be done? Is it possible? How am I going to do this? What is the technique I'm going to use? What machinery do I need? Or tools, if any? And then I guess I would think of the market, from a business point of view. Will it sell? Will people be interested in this? Is it functional or is it decorative? Or is it both? So and then I think once you get going, it's trial and error. But once you get going, and maybe you could get some investors or whatnot, if you're lucky, I would say just stay true. I had a lot of people tell me that this just couldn't be done. A lot of negativity in the beginning, a lot of positivity, but a lot of negativity. And I almost quit so many times. But I think you really have to just stay the course. And that's what I think my message would be at the end, is just trust yourself and stay the course, and don't take everybody's advice, because everybody has advice. So
everybody does have an opinion, right? But
yes.
there are so many people who just think they know better than you. And it always amazes me where
Me
they
too.
can't say, oh, that's really interesting. I hope you do well. They just want to say, oh, yeah, that'll never work. And
Oh,
what do they know? What do they know? There's always those stories of like, that's what Steven Spielberg heard, the first 100 times he tried to sell a script or a story idea.
yes,
And
yes.
and now all those people who passed, hopefully they're regretting it. And I hope all those people who told you that it was a bad idea, that they're regretting saying that, because they were wrong.
It is interesting because at first I took it personally, because this is my child, I've given birth to it. Um, but now it's sort of like, well, let's have a conversation. Like, why do you think you feel that way or whatever? And then maybe after the conversation, their minds are completely changed, or they bring a whole new appreciation to it. So that's kind of where I'm at now, is sort of educating people, I think.
So let's talk about jewelry, because you are a jeweler. And I will say it's one of my very favorite subjects and one of my very favorite things. I can totally be in the rabbit hole of jewelry all day long, shopping and looking and wishing and planning and thinking. Who are the jewelers that inspire you? What jewelry designers inspire you?
What really inspires me is jewelry from antiquity. That's the thing.
Okay.
And then also contemporary jewelry. I'm looking at it more um, as an artist, maybe would look like an art historian. So I'm looking at gold jewelry, Etruscan jewelry, or Greek jewelry. How is it made? What, because it's sort of like what we're doing now. I mean, not the same thing, but it's not technologically advanced for that time. But I find that stuff just enthralling. And then during the, I guess later on, Renaissance, Baroque period, where you see all this stuff, the monarchy is wearing, oh my God, where did those pearls come from? How did this happen? Who made that?
Hmm.
And then moving into sort of more contemporary, I would say, um, I mean, I'm a big fan of someone like Kandinsky. So taking different shapes, different colors, and sort of putting them together so that they're within their own orbit. I can't even explain it, but it's just, yeah, it's like an homage, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And you know it when you see it, right? It's one of those things
Yeah,
that's
I think so.
very,
Yeah.
very emotional and very visceral. You're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait, that one just grabbed me. That
Yes.
Mini Cooper cuff that you showed us, it has a very like vintage Cartier feel to it.
Oh, I was
Um,
Cartier definitely is an influence.
yeah,
Yes.
that one
Yeah.
felt very, very Cartier to me, but vintage Cartier, not the modern
Yes.
era.
Yes.
And which is incredible. It was really beautiful. And I don't know, I think Mini Cooper needs to buy that for like their collection.
I know.
Pretty amazing. Pretty
It would
amazing.
be. It would be.
So let me ask the final question that's always on my list. And then if there's anything else that you would like to share with us, please do. What do you want people in your life, your family, to take away from your career? You've learned a lot. a lot people are watching you, especially your family, where you go to family gatherings or just have those, dinner table conversations about your work life. What do you want people that you love to take away from your career?
Well, I think I want them, especially my parents, to be proud of me. I was a late bloomer, so I think for a while there they thought, oh boy, what's she going to do with her life? And so the fact that I've been able to do this and also run a business for 13 years is something that to me I'm very proud of. It's a big accomplishment for me. And I would also like them to be able to, appreciate creativity and the fact that you can do something that's out of the box. You don't always have to do the straight and narrow, you don't have to do that. You don't have to follow this. If you have an idea, pursue it, because you may only have one chance.
That's amazing. You're right. You may only have one chance to do the thing that you love.
Yeah. And not everybody gets to do that. And I realize that, but getting older and seeing, my family and things like that, it's really changed my perspective. And I appreciate what I do now so much more. And I appreciate the people so much, the community.
It's a good community, isn't it? Car
It
people?
really is. I've never felt more welcome. And when I go to events now, people I'll hear people say, "Crash, hey, there's Crash," and and they'll come over and show me what they're wearing, or it's such a feeling of goodwill.
So will I see you at Monterey Car Week? Do you go to Monterey Car Week?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be there. We're gonna be Monday night at the Porsche dealership, the kickoff. Do you ever go to that in Seaside?
I haven't been to the Monday night event, but I do go to Car Week.
Okay. So we're going to do that on Monday, and then we're going to do Retro Auto, which is Thursday through Sunday, actually at Pebble Beach. So stop by, because we're going to have a whole bunch of new stuff. And and always looking for opportunities, or, we love doing trunk shows, galleries, any chance to share our story.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, and Monterey Car Week is the place to do it, right? That is just
Yes.
the fan fest of the year is at Monterey Car Week, especially when it comes to nice cars.
Uh,
So what do you drive now?
I drive an older car, but it's a Mercedes. It's an E350
No,
cabriolet. I like the convertible. So
true California girl.
yes,
You
you got to have. I always say, if you live in California or anywhere really, you need to have a convertible at least once in your life.
And what's your dream car?
Well, to tell you the truth, it probably would have been that Bentley that started this whole process. That
Continental?
I can't stop thinking about that car. It was stunning, and the color was gorgeous. The interior was this plush white leather. I mean, it was just so luxurious. It just smelled good when you got in. You felt like, I'm a movie star, or something. It was like being in a cloud. So
Yeah.
I guess that would be it. Yeah.
I test drove a Bentley Continental. It was this very light blue, silvery blue color on the paint. And then it had what I thought of as an interior that looked like a yacht. It was like blonde or cream colored leather and blonde wood and dark glossy accents. And then all the silver metal just really, set off the color palette so beautifully. And it was one
Yes.
of my favorite test drives I've ever had. And the top, it was a cabriolet. So it was a convertible with a woven tweed style top. It looked like when you get close up to it, you could see it was tweed from a distance. It just looked sort of beige. It was the most beautiful car I think I've ever driven. And somebody said, "Oh yeah, that's the Palm Beach spec." I was like, okay, now I know what to call it. I felt like I was literally driving a yacht. Like the blonde wood trim inside, it just had that, when you're on a vintage boat that's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And everything is the wood, it's not only crafted and polished, but it's glossed with so many layers of gloss to keep the water out so
Right.
that the wood maintains its integrity. It felt like that, only better because it's never in water. But it was just the most beautiful car ever. So I'm with you. I think that
Yeah.
Bentley Continental is
And
definitely worth dreaming about.
right. And you appreciate all aspects of the car, not necessarily just the engine or whatever. You appreciate everything about it. That to me, it's the complete experience. I'm not so much into supercars. Yeah, I appreciate them. I love them. But I'm still, I guess, a vintage kind of girl at heart. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was so many beautiful cars in the world. It's hard to just pin down one. I
it
think we need
is.
to think about this one and this one and this one, and maybe wear them as a piece of jewelry, and carry a lot of them with us in our lives. Christy, thank you
Absolutely.
so much for joining
Sure.
me for
Thank you
What
for
Drives
listening.
Her.
Yeah, this has
Appreciate
been
your
fun.
time. We'll see you
Thank
in
you.
Monterey at Car Week.
Definitely. I'll be there.
I think the thing that most inspired me from the conversation with Christy was how the world of automotive has been so warm and embracing to her. And that was the thing she didn't expect. And that's true. I find that, I know a lot of other women find that as well. Once you take that step into the world of automotive, you never want to leave because people, women and men, are so welcoming, so empowering, and create such a warm and wonderful community. But I love her balance of it finding inspiration in new things, not listening to the naysayers, and following her own internal compass that shows her the way to go, and taking those artistry cues from classic artists and classic movements in especially in jewelry and in design. And it really, her craft and her art really enriches so much of how we see our worlds. I cannot wait to go and see her collection at Monterey Car Week. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Join us next time here at What Drives Her, the podcast from A Girl's Guide to Cars. We've got quite a lot in the works for this summer. So I hope that you will subscribe so you don't ever miss a podcast. And we will see you next time. I'm Scotty Reese, your host. Natalie Marola is our producer. Our editor is Steph Howard. Music by Envato Elements. Thank you so much for joining us, and join us again next time.